Hello everyone, my name is Alan, I'm the lead developer of Soulstone Survivors, and I'm here to do something a little bit different today. Different and in a different place as well, hopefully while there's still light out. Basically, last time we made the developer Q&A, me and R1, and we talked about how we wanted to be more transparent with the community. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity to make this quick video. Nothing that I would rehearse for. We're actually super busy with the new update. There is so much we want to get into it. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what are the key points that we see in the feedback forums, in the forums, in Discord. What are the main things we see you guys are concerned about, or you guys maybe don't think we're listening about something. So I wanted to, go through everything we have, which, trust me, is a lot. It took a lot of time, and we do that for every update. And to talk, what are the key points and how can we address those points and what are we working for the next update. So basically, as you can see here, I have this very high-tech list that I will be reading from, and this list is basically what are the most requested things that you guys are concerned about, that you don't like, or maybe just new features or something that you really miss in the game. And I also brought a couple points of things that are of concern to us that actually weren't really much brought up about by the players, but some things that we want to change. And I wanted to go through this list very quickly to share with you guys, so you're on the same page as us. You know what are the actual most requested features. And this list is built basically out of the compilation of Steam forums, Discord, even comments on YouTube, everything. As I mentioned before, we gather everything into this huge spreadsheet. We divide this basically by month or something like that. And we basically took what are the most requested things from the list. So it's not like we filter anything out. So let's begin. The first thing that is, the most requested thing from the community is actually the problem that the game becomes too hard, too intensive, too much of a dodge fest in the late game, and we couldn't agree more. It's obviously true, right? If you played any high curse games, you know that at late stages we basically paint the ground red, and we're not happy with that either. We agree that it is a bit too much, and it's not really, it's not about the difficulty, it's about how it limits the way you play the game. So, let's first list out all the problems, and then we can get into what are some of our proposed solutions. All right, the next one is that the balance in endless matches is not great, and I couldn't agree more to that. This is something that from the very beginning of the game I mentioned was a big problem, just because of how everything scales, because of how powerful you become, how fast you become this powerful. And the game just either can't keep up or it insta-kills you out of the blue and you can't react. So both of these are not fun. You're either just bored because it's just health bars, or you're instantly killed, which gives you no reaction time. The next one, which is also a big problem that we agree with, is the game visibility, right? As you get, again, as you scale up, you get more and more powerful, you start casting 1 billion skills every second, things get messy, and I agree that this is to some point part of the fun, but when it gets in your way, when it makes you die because you just couldn't see where the attacks were, and then you have 1 billion red attacks everywhere, then it becomes a big problem, right? This is something that we have been contending with since also the beginning of the game, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we continue. So the other thing that is also, this one actually surprised me a little bit, I would say, of being so high up. That is how power-ups are shown to the player. And this is kind of a compilation of multiple small problems, right? I think that to some extent some feedback is like, this is too text heavy, it's so overwhelming, there's so much to read and learn and whatnot. Some of the complaints are, I would like to know how many of this power-up I already have, or do I already have this power-up? And then there is the problem of the huge list of power-ups in the bottom of the screen, which also get messy and you just don't know, what to look for in there. So problems around selecting power-ups and knowing what you have or don't have. As you can see, I'm losing light here, so bear with me. The next thing that recently have been talked about a lot is struggle with the Ascensions, and of course this is new, so there would be no feedbacks about it in the beginning of the game, right? And this is one of those things that we have some of that we agree with, some of that we don't agree with. We already took a few steps, but we'll continue working on that. But I'll talk about that a little bit more in the end as well. Another thing that you guys feel is a big problem with the game right now is how the runes work. And to be a little bit more specific, the problem is, or it has been reported in many different ways about how you don't feel like you have a lot of freedom to choose your runes. You don't feel good experimenting with mastery runes, for example, to select new skills, because you don't know what you're getting. You're sacrificing a lot of power for it, so you feel like you need to use this very specific set of runes to be successful in the game. And then this compounds with everything else, right? The game is hard, the other points we just brought up here, so the endless balance, the game balance, the high curses. So I can see how that is a big problem, and this is something we completely agree with, and we have had plans to change this for a long time, but we'll get to that. The next thing is general UI improvements, so stuff like using hotkeys to adjust visibility settings more quickly, or how to enable curses in the curses menu, because you have to click each one of them every time, so it's a bit of a pain. Selecting skills with the keyboard. So there is a lot of these small things, but that they definitely would make the experience a lot better all across the game. So we're here. Another one that I actually made it into the list is very specific, so I was a bit surprised, is that the void presence is a bit too sneaky, and that means this came in a lot of forms as well. But basically, a lot of the times you can die from the void presence and you didn't even know it was there, and it just disappears under the visibility problems, the areas, So as you can see, all of this is related to each other. There is a link between everything. And another one, and this is the last one I took note, there are many more, but I want to focus on the important things. And so the last one that I have here is that entering the end portals by accident. So it happens that sometimes maybe you're not paying attention and the match is over, and you are you have the perfect build, and then accidentally you enter the home portal and you leave the game, and that's it. And I can definitely see how that would be very frustrating. Then there are a few things that are more features that you guys... Oh, there is a doggo. Hello. Yeah. All right, so after the doggos left, continuing, the other thing I was gonna mention is another thing that I took in my list here are features, game features that you guys would like to see. The one that is actually most requested in this sense, it's a way to craft or do something that you can spend resources endlessly. And we talked about this before. This is definitely a big request and a big thing we agree with, but a bit tricky. We'll talk a little bit about that later on as well. More bosses, you guys would like to have more bosses in the game, and of course I want that too. This just takes work, but it's definitely something we're not only considering, it will happen. It's just a matter of us putting the priorities and what comes first and comes next. The match history, you guys would like to see what happened in our previous matches, what build did I have that was good or bad or whatever. An in-game wiki, so kind of a way for you to see details about the game, the hidden informations that usually you have to go to the actual, web page wiki to see. So you guys would like to do that in-game, and of course we completely agree with that, would be great. Another thing is UI scaling or just better UI customization, which again, I cannot argue with that, right? It would be great to have. It's not the most trivial thing, but would be great. And the last feature I took note, and again, this is just the top ones, all right? There are many more suggested over this long time we've been within early access. And the last one is to trade materials. So basically, you know, I would like to change my corrupt soulstone for minor soulstones, and my iron for copper, and etc, etc, which I also get. You know, I think that the game, depending on how you play it, there will be many times where you have a shortage of certain resources, certain crystal, and a lot of the other, and then whatever you want to buy costs exactly the thing you don't have. So, you know, I can get how frustrating it is. So what are we doing? What are we doing to address these points? And I have also a few notes here. I'll do them in the order I have here, so it's not in order of importance anymore or more frequent or anything, right? So the first thing is the visibility problems, right? They become a big problem very early in the game, you know, depending on the skills you have. So the first thing we're doing is actually addressing the biggest offenders, you know, the skills that really get in our way. So we're revisiting pretty much all the VFXs of all skills. We're looking at them and trying to evaluate, can we make it sure that, you know, you can still see what's happening, and, you know, trying to tune some of them down, trying to make sure, you know, visibility comes at a higher priority. And, you know, this, to be really honest, I don't think that this will ever solve the problem, right? Because even the smallest skill, if you have a billion of it casting every second, it will still crowd your screen, right? It will still be very prolific. So we'll see, you know, this is the first step, is trying to make sure that there are no skills that are too bad in this regard. Along with this, we're also adding, you know, the easy solution of, you know, helping with the visibility slider. We're adding a hotkey so you can bring it up and down. But I want to reiterate that our goal is to have a game where we don't need this visibility slider. You know, you should be able to play the game without messing with visibility settings. And, you know, there are a lot of ways you can think about that, but let me be honest, it's not simple for us to do, and that's why we haven't done anything in this sort. This would be something that would take a lot of work, and if it comes to that, if this is what we need to do, we will. It's just we're prioritizing other things for the moment than this very minute control of each skill. The next thing I have here is the power-ups. You know, you remember that I mentioned that the power-ups are a problem because you don't know how many you have, you don't know if you already picked this up, you don't know, well, basically anything, and sometimes you don't even know how they scale, right? So for example, you have spontaneous combustion, which is 25% chance of causing burn. And then if you pick it again, do I have 50% chance of causing double the burn? Do I have the same chance of causing double the burn? Do I have twice the chance to cause the same burn? And this is not clear, you know, in the way we're currently showing the power-ups when you level up. And for that, we're actually addressing this in the next update, and we are making a huge refactor on how we display the skills, the information about the powers you get during a match. Basically, we're reducing the text, we're making it so that the UI showcases what is the scaling from the previous level to the next, so it makes it a lot easier to know, do I already have this or not? And, you know, hopefully, depending, you know, on how much time we have to edit this video, I might add some of that, some screenshots, preview screenshots to the video, but at any rate, know that this is definitely coming for the next update. It is a big thing for us, and, you know, just in the internal testing, we're already feeling it a lot better than before, and we really hope you guys will like it. The next one is about the Ascensions that I have listed here. And, you know, the Ascensions, they come in all shapes and forms, and we actually like that. That is by intention. They're meant to have Ascensions that are harder to get the most benefit of. There are some that are meant to be basically automatic, like the Barbarian, and we don't want to make them all, you know, the same. All you're just standing there and things happen. So that will probably, you know, never change, but we don't want them to be frustrating either, you know. And Again, the Ascensions have the most problematic ones are always related to staying in the same place for a little while. It's all related to the points of the game becomes too much of a dodge fest, right? It's like you're forced to move, but then the Ascensions are asking you to stand still. This last small hotfix update we made actually addressed some stuff, some small stuff. So basically, we made so the Sentinel, the Panther, no longer decays when you're far away from it, so you can do that in steps. The mana crystals for the Arcane Weaver can be collected instantly. And, one of the Ascensions that we have not made anything, but we're working on it for the next update as well, is the Paladins. We have a pretty cool change that keeps the design of how it works, and this was actually suggested by the community, when I read it, I thought, wow, this is such a great idea. Why didn't we do it like this before? So, expect changes that will make it a lot easier to interact with. And, further Ascensions, we're keeping an eye out, but know that there is some of it that we'll probably not address because we do want them to feel different, to require different effort from the player. The next one that I have listed here, and this is a big one, are the runes, right? So as mentioned, the runes that change how you play the game, like mastery runes or affinity runes, basically don't get used too much because you have to sacrifice so much power for them. And to that end, we're making the biggest revamp on the rune system we've ever had. To give you the highlight, basically after the next update, what we'll have are two types of rune slots. We'll have, and this is all work in progress, all right? So if something changes, bear with me. But basically, we'll have power runes and build runes. We're still not closed on the name on what they will call, but basically we'll separate runes into two types. Power runes are the obvious ones, they like, well, I don't know, most of the runes in the game, anything that increases your fighting power or your defenses or your mobility, stuff that actually makes your character stronger. And in the other side, we will have the build runes, which are runes that change how you can build your character. So they are like the mastery runes, affinity runes, but also stuff like Gambler, which you can use for like the challenge type of runs. And how it works is like this: you have 3 build slots and 4 power slots. You still have 10 runic power, but all the build runes will now be free. They won't cost any runic power. So basically you'll be free to play with the 3 slots of runes separately from the power slots. And because our ultimate goal with Soulstone Survivors is to create the most viable number of builds possible. These runes, they offer infinite possibilities, to be really honest. There are so much you can do with these runes, and it's a shame that the way it's structured, you can't really use them without sacrificing, being stronger in the game. And the game is hard, so you feel bad for doing it. Oh yeah, the other small change to runes coming, and I say small, but it's quite big, is that mastery runes will now allow you to pick X a number of skills, but you can select which skills you want from each type. So basically, if you want to do your, Scent of Blood abuse and just get that, you can. But if you want to do something very specific, something wacky, you can do that too. And then you can grab the affinity rune for that type and make sure you get that very quickly. So we hope that this change will broaden up the horizon of what you can and can't do in the game with every character. The next one is UI improvements. This one is very, let's put it this way, there are big things like the UI scaling, which we would love to do, but we won't do it for this update. It would take a lot of time. Hopefully we'll be able to do it in the future, but we are doing a lot of improvements. There is the power-ups I mentioned before. There are a lot of hotkeys, so for the visibility also changed before. For selecting the skills, we're also implementing. There are a lot of improvements all around the game. So this is again a constant work we'll be doing probably forever, right? And as we continue getting feedback, we'll get new ideas of what are being problematic things for you to interact with. The other small thing we're doing, and this one, you know, we should also have done since the beginning, is the void presence being too sneaky. What we're changing is actually the damage area of the void area, of the void presence. It's now very distinct from the others, so you know, if it's trying to attack you, you'll see it. It's huge, it's purple, it's bright, has a pattern. And this is such an obvious change. Of course, you know, we should have done this a long time ago. The other thing we're also doing about the portals, you know, the accidental portals, is is that we're adding a small charging time. So, you know, if you want to interact with a portal, it takes, I don't remember exactly what's set up to now, and we'll see when the patch actually releases, but you take like 1 second to interact with the portal with a small loading indicator, so you know you can cancel the portal, you just move away, and that's fine. The big elephant in the room is obviously the balancing of the game, right? The balancing of the endless, balancing of player power, balancing of the enemies and the red areas. And for that, you know, the reason I haven't talked much about that before, even in Discord, is that this is a major feature, and it's definitely something we are addressing. It is the highest thing in our priority list right now. I'm still trying to think we'll be able to deliver it for the next update, which we hope will be very soon. But what I can tell you about that is that, you know, we're taking steps to reduce the chaos at high curses without making the game trivially easy. And what this will likely mean is some reduction to player power in general, you know, especially mobility. With very high mobility, there is basically no challenge we can throw at you. There is, you know, just not enough damage or health or anything that will make a guy dashing 20 times a second die to anything, right? We want to reduce the intensity of the dodging mechanics, but keep the game challenging. You know, we think that the curses are meant to make the game challenging, and when we say challenging, it should be, you know, relatively active, you know. But it's funny, if you play the game on a new save today, and you play at curse 0, you will notice that it is challenging. It's not easy, you know. Of course, you will know how to play, you will know what skills to pick, so you know, you'll probably be able to beat it without any meta progression, but you will see that you struggle a little bit. You don't know, if you miss a dodge, you might die to a boss, you know, and because you miss the timing, or you just didn't prepare, you just didn't think of the attack, and this gets lost as time goes by in the game. And this is probably the main thing that we want to address. And you know, I don't want to talk a lot about specific things we're doing, because they're all still very subject to change, but you know, these are some of the high level things that have been on our mind. Another big thing that plays into that are the skill imbalance, right? So you have certain skills that are very good, and you have a lot of skills which aren't. And this is something that just happened. Let me be really honest, it's just how the game organically grew. We went from, you know, having about 100 and few skills to almost 300. I think we actually surpassed 300 skills now. And as we added new features, new things for skills to do, new ways that they interact with each other, certain skills definitely got, you know, the short end of the stick, let's put it this way. I think this is actually in progress. We're basically rebalancing literally every skill in the game, trying to bring them more in line with each other. And of course, you know, there will never be the perfect balance, but our goal is to make it so every skill has a place in a certain build, you know. Maybe will never be the best one, but maybe helps you build up stacks of blah, and that helps you exploit that other skill. So, you know, we want every skill to be usable, you know, and be successful in a build. The other thing related to skills I want to talk about is actually the chaos skills. You know, this is not something that the players bring up a lot, because it's actually one of the favorite skills for a lot of people. And I myself love playing the Chaos Walker, you know, it's just, I like the bright colors and the reds and the blacks. But Chaos brings a really big problem to the game right now, which is that it's capable of applying every negative effect in the game. What we see happening is that the best builds are always need at least one Chaos skill, and sometimes more than one. And the Chaos skill is responsible of replacing basically all other skills in the game. It's like, I don't care anymore about fragility stacks, about slow, about anything. I just have this one Chaos skill, and you know, starting at endless 1, 2, 3, it's basically gonna apply so many stacks of everything that I don't need to worry about it with any other skill. And you know, the way this harms the game is that it reduces the amount of builds that are interesting to play with. It's like, okay, I can choose the other skills, but I need to have a Chaos skill. And that's when it becomes a problem for us. It's when the imbalance of a type or a skill or something makes it so you have less options, right? Less viable options. And we have a game that has so many negative effects, so many skills, and then we have this one type which basically removes that from the equation. It's like we're doing anti-design of our own game. What I can say for now is that expect Chaos to get a big rework. It will still be focused on randomness and unpredicted results, and actually I think it's pretty cool to interact with where we are right now. I'm not ready to share the details yet because it's still work in progress. It will still have the same essence, but not be as predatory to the other skill types and other skills in the game. Overall, that's what I wanted to talk with you guys today. You know, we went through the list of the key things. There are still more things related to balance that we would like to address, you know, and just how things play into each other. So as mentioned before, the curses, the combination of bosses that's sometimes very punishing, the balancing endless, which is a big problem. But you know, these are things that we're still working on and trying to figure out what is the best way to do it. It is a tricky thing to address because, you know, at the same time, we don't want to reduce player power, but it's impossible to create a meaningful challenge to a player that is immortal. So you know, it's a very delicate thing that we're trying to balance around, but know that this is something very important for us and that we will definitely change, and we're actively working on. I just don't know if we'll be able to get it done for this next update. It's so much stuff, but it is definitely the thing that I think harms the game the most right now. And I hope that this will alleviate some of your concerns, that this will, you know, let you know that we're actually listening. If you disagree with anything that I mentioned, if you have any other new suggestions, as mentioned, do let us know. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.